Hey there, today I'm testing the Shimano SLX DC XT. I personally think that this is the bait finesse digitally controlled reel that everybody's been waiting for. Can it cast 7 grams? Absolutely. Can it cast 5? Yeah, surprisingly easy. How about 3.5 grams? Yeah, it does that too. So what about 2 grams? Can it cast 2 grams? Because quite frankly, the Shimano Corrado BFS, below 2 grams, it really doesn't handle much either. And the same can be said for a lot of bait finesse reels. So can this DC reel throw a 2-gram lure? My mind was blown. You're not going to believe this. Now, this video started out as just a regular fishing trip. The first time I had the SLX DC XT out, I was just impressed by how well it performed. So I want to share those initial casting, and some people like to see the dialing in. If you don't, there's chapters down below and you can skip right to the sort of the rapid testing where I really got into seeing how low this thing can really go. So I'm going to throw a bunch of essentially BFS baits on this DC reel, and hopefully we catch some fish today. So windy today, we're not going to be able to run the 360 camera. And this spot's so popular that once trout season opens up and they stock it for trout, you know, I don't come here. But I figured, okay, so first cast was not very good. Second cast was a little bit better. Starting to get a little bit further. Ooh, I just had a hit. So that's kind of a positive. At least I did have a hit already. I haven't fished this rod in several years, so you know, the few times I had that one hit, and the few times I felt a couple bits of debris that I ran into, it felt pretty good. But it's funny, in the short amount of time that I've been here, somebody else has already showed up to start fishing. I'm attempting to throw the FishHawk Spinner, which is probably right on the bottom end of what this reel should be able to throw. At this point, I'm throwing it into the wind. So this is throwing this FishHawk Spinner, which I think is a handful of grams. You know, it's throwing it on a break setting of 2 into the wind, throwing it pretty good. And it seems to handle pretty well if you just throw a light cast too. So that's good. It's kind of curious, like, okay, well, do I always have to try to balm this thing? Or I am trying to cast a little bit between gusts of wind. Between the wind and the debris, it sort of makes it hard to watch the line. There we go. Hey, largemouth. That's good. That was a pretty solid hit too. Oh, that's a brown trout. Brown trout on the Ned rig. There we go. Get my hands wet. Let him go. Running a offset Ned basically for bass, but like I said, I know that there's a chance of some trout in here. Saw the line start going there. Oh crap. Kind of looked cool the way the wind created all the ripples on top of the water there. The SLX DC, it did really well with lighter baits. You know, so after that first trip, on having that on a conventional medium weight casting rod, right? Because I really thought the SLX DC XT, I really thought it was just going to be sort of like a light traditional reel, but it was throwing the stuff so easy on a medium power rod that I'm like, well, I got to try it on something else. So I threw it on one of my favorite rods, the Shimano X Pride 163L BFS, and I tell you what, it completely brought the reel to a whole new level.
See here that the swim bait's like 6.5 grams or so. So we're going to try that first. So again, today isn't about catching fish necessarily. It does seem to cast a little bit more easily on this setup that has a little bit more balanced. Where are we on and we're still really low on the brakes. So now we've got a trout spinner that's like just over 3 grams actually. So we'll see how this does. Well, honestly, at this point, we're sort of getting to the, holy moly, does this thing have great action too. We're kind of getting to the end of what this rod can do. Look at that. I mean, it's casting it out there very nicely. The spinner sort of like flutters and then stops, and flutters and then stops. It's sort of weird. That was into the wind. Still did pretty well. Wow, that's just crazy. Okay, now at 2.8 grams, we're definitely getting to like the end. We're way past. This rod's only rated to 5 grams. So we're going to try this and see how the reel does. Then I got a different idea. Okay. You know, that's something else. It's almost as far as every other lure, and it's like 2 3/4 grams. It is getting pretty shallow here. Well, that time the wind caught the line a little bit more than but it still did a respectable distance.
Okay, but that X Pride rod is rated from 5 to 15 grams. So I thought, well, you know, if I'm going to push a little bit lower, if I'm going to try to get down below 3.5 grams or so, you know, maybe I need to throw it on a different rod. So that's where I brought the Jinko Double Down in. It's rated from 1 to 6 grams. And I tell you what, I just can't believe that this reel can do it. In fact, I didn't bring lures light enough to find the lower limit of this thing. This is absolutely incredible. This reel, I can't believe more people aren't talking about this reel.
Okay. Honestly, first cast, of course that was into the wind, but first cast, it really doesn't feel like it was much different than the 5 gram rod. Maybe a little bit less effort, maybe, I don't know, but you know, now it's windier right now, and this is also a little square bill crankbait, which is not always the best distance lure you can throw. So you can either look at the, yeah, see, there was a little bit less wind, it went a little bit further. It's so windy at times that I can't even. So now we're down to 2.5 grams with this. 2.5 grams on a digitally controlled Baitcaster. The answer is yes. You know, and the funny thing is, it's like almost everything is casting about the same distance. You know, it's not like it's not like I'm getting this progressive shutdown either. I haven't had a single backlash all day. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself. I don't even know why I'm taking the time to fish, because look at that. I mean, that's 2.5 grams, almost as far as the 5.5 gram swim bait, which is already really on the small side. I mean, that's a finesse paddle tail. It's already on the small side for a Baitcaster, let alone a digitally controlled Baitcaster. Okay, well, let's see if I got something else in here just a little bit smaller. 2.18 grams, so we're basically down to 2 grams at this point. So just to put it in perspective, a 1/8 ounce rooster tail is 3.6 grams. This is a little AliExpress bait. But again, 2 grams, kind of crazy. The fact that I haven't adjusted anything and I haven't had any kind of backlashes sort of makes me wonder, like, what if I click the brakes up to 2? What happens? Does it make that much of a difference? Huge difference. So yeah, I mean, I'm running them at 1, and unlike a lot of reels where there's a bunch of different adjustments, this is just basically 1 through 5. But between 1 and 2, you're losing 30 to 40% of your distance on a 2 gram lure. There are a ton of reels that are bait finesse, that are considered bait finesse capable, that won't go below 2 grams. I don't know what to say other than wow. You know, it's a windy day. You know, I think you can probably see some of the stuff, but you've seen some of the other. It's a breezy day. It's not like whipping, but it's probably gusts of 10 to 12 miles an hour today. I didn't have a single backlash. I'm casting down to 2 grams with a digitally controlled reel. Really? Like, it's crazy. So, successful test. We're going to go do some actual fishing now and leave this spot to people who want to fish here.
So, I mean, there you go. It'll throw 2 grams. And honestly, I think for most applications, that's going to be light enough. I mean, you can throw trout spinners on this thing. You can throw, you know, little crankbaits. 2 grams. I mean, that's pretty freaking light. If I'm going to go lighter than that, it's probably because I'm trout fishing, maybe for some panfish or something. And I don't know that I need this reel to throw stuff that light. There are better options, I think, in the really lightweight category. You know, the Gecko Bejan is fantastic, the Aldebaran 22, even the Dark Wolf Ultra, and a lot of reels, you know, once you start modifying them, can start getting down sub 1 gram, to be honest with you. Now, let's talk about backlashes. In all of my testing, I don't think I had a single backlash. I had a couple times when it fluffed up, and I mean, these were windy days. And I'm running it on a control setting of 1. You know, there's 3 levels plus wind, I think, you know, for maximum control. But with these light lures, 1 was all it needed. I mean, and that's the minimum. There's no 0. I mean, it's a DC reel. You want to use the technology. The only time this reel has blown up on me, and you'll see this in an upcoming video, but I'll throw a clip of it in right here. Oh. It's like when my casting accuracy is so bad, I actually just casted a swim bait directly into like the piling of a bridge. And you know, of course, any baitcaster is going to blow up in that case. I'm an average guy, probably less talented than most of you who are watching this. I don't have Yoda-like casting skills. I make all kinds of mistakes. And that's part of what I love about bait finesse, though. The technology in these reels is so forgiving. You know, anybody can pick them up and learn it and have fun. But now add this DC component of it in. I don't know if I mentioned this, right? But there's like almost 100 yards of line on this thing. This reel has so many versatile options. I'm going to struggle not to fish with it every time I'm out, unless I'm specifically going after smaller trout. But even if I'm going after big trout, this reel is going to be with me. It's absolutely amazing. So do yourself a favor, check it out. It's actually not that expensive either. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, how's it going? Good. You can have this spot. I was just sitting here testing some gear, and I was just wrapping up. What do you guys normally catch out here? Like bass, crappie?
Crappie's in here.
Yeah.
Big catfish, big white, big fish.
Yeah.
Turtles.
Wow.
I'm gonna tell you, turtles. I got them for sure, broke my line.
Yeah, right. Yeah, turtles are something else. I used to.
I never caught a snapping turtle, but man, they mean.
Yeah. I used to catch them growing up on the Ohio River, and it was just like you never look forward to getting one of those turtles, you know. So.
Mean.
Well, hey, good luck, guys.